Okay. Good afternoon, teacher, and good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 7, and today in our culture topic class discussion, among a lot of special culture in the world, we chose to talk to you guys about a unique aspect of Egypt's culture, and it's about the pharaohs in ancient Egypt. Our group has 4 group members. It's me, Ngọc Anh, Mai Chi, Ngọc Trâm and Thùy Linh, and today will help you to know more about the pharaoh in Egyptian culture. So now let's start to our presentation. Our presentation has 5 parts. The first part is the overview about the pharaohs. The second part is the lead information about the mummification. The third part is about the pyramid, a symbol of Egypt. The fourth part, we will introduce you an outstanding pharaoh in ancient Egypt. And lastly, we will end up with the comparison of the pharaohs and the ancient Vietnamese kings. Okay, and now we are going to the first part with my presentation. Maybe you have heard about the pharaohs so many times, but have you ever wondered who the pharaohs are? Like ancient Egyptian cultures, pharaohs were both the heads of state and the religious leaders of the people. The word pharaoh means great house, a reference to the palace where the pharaoh resides. While the Egyptian rulers were called kings, over time the name pharaoh stuck. And as the king of Egypt, the pharaohs has many duties. As a statesman, the pharaoh made laws, waged war, collected taxes, and oversaw on the land in Egypt. And as a religious leader, the pharaoh was considered the divine intermediary between the gods and the Egyptian. To govern fairly, though, the pharaoh had to delegate responsibility. His chief assistant was the vizier, who among other duties was chief justice, head of the treasury, and overseer of all records. And this slide is some photos about the ancient pharaohs to help you have a clear imagination about them. Mentioning to the Egypt culture associated with the pharaohs, it would remiss to skip the mummy custom of Egyptian. As you know, mummification is the process of preserving the body after death by deliberately drying or embalming flesh. This process has 5 main steps. Step 1, washing the body. Step 2, removing all organs except the heart and placing them in jars. Step 3, packing the body and organs in salt to remove moisture. Step 4, embalming the body with plant resins and essential oils. And step 5, wrapping the embalmed corpse in several layers of linen. The purpose of mummification was because the ancient Egyptians loved life and they believed in immortality. Why this may seem contradictory, they believed that life would continue after death and that they would still need their physical bodies. Thus, preserving the body in as lifelike a way as possible was the goal of mummification and essential to the continuation of life. Another purpose is that Egyptians believed that the mummified body housed one's soul or spirit. If the body was destroyed, the spirit could be lost and not make its entrance into the afterlife. And the last purpose I want to mention is mummification helped to keep the body intact so it could be transported into a spiritual afterlife. And that's all of my presentation about the overview about the pharaohs and the mummification in Egypt culture. And now let's continue to our next part with Mai Chi.
Following to the speech of Ngọc Anh about the pharaoh will be some information about pyramids. It's an ancient massive structure, big E considered as a big house to look after and preserve Pharaoh's body. About the structure of the pyramids, the first is the shape. Because the shape of it is similar to the pyramids, so it has a special name, pyramid. And the second is the base. The base of pyramid is can be triangle, square, and or rectangles. And so next we turn to the reason to build the pyramids. As we know, the pyramids is as a big house of Pharaoh, but we don't know the true reason behind building pyramids. Pharaoh is considered as an intermediary who was chosen by the gods to work between the gods and people on earth. Egyptian and Egyptian believe when the king died, part of the spirit of the pharaoh remained in her body. So the pharaoh she has a very high mission. We can see three pictures, and they built the pyramids in a big house where can preserve the king's body as much as possible. Why ancient Egyptians can build a big pyramids for pharaohs? That's a question that many people cannot answer. So how did people for thousands years ago create some of the pyramids? The time to build a pyramid is about, can be said, is so long. It's about 20 to 30 years. And they coded a lot of manual labels, and they use simple tools such as the wooden tools and bow. It's purpose to make a big pulley to carry big stone. And one other way, they created a lot of rows around the pyramids, and against half Egyptian can easily enter the pyramids. And conclusion, um, the construction of structure require a lot of efforts, money, wit, and tea of the people. So it's like building a great wall of China. And next, we turn to the presentation of Jump.
Well, and in the next part, we want to talk about one of the most famous pharaoh, Hatshepsut. You can see here throughout history, there are more than 31 dynasties of ancient Egypt, from early period to late period with many pharaohs. So what makes Hatshepsut special? The answer is the pharaoh Hatshepsut was a woman. Although it was legal for a woman to be a monarch, it disturbs some essential Egyptian belief, so she doesn't have support in her age. So you can see the quotes from her on the screen. It shows her power and confidence. I will talk about some details about her. Hatshepsut was the fifth pharaoh of the 18th dynasty of Egypt. She was the second historical confirmed female pharaoh, and she competently fulfilled the traditional role of the office. She was a great builder. Her mortuary temple, Dizeru, was an architectural phenomenon at the time and is still admired today. She enhanced the economy of Egypt, and she also have a strong religious connection. She even claimed to be the daughter of the state god, Ammon, and she had a successful military career with a Nubian campaign and claims he fought alongside her soldier in battle. Of course, we have to be careful when we assess her success because most of evidence was written by Hatshepsut herself. He tells her own story in picture and writing on the walls of her mortuary temple and the red chapel she built for Ammon. So in the next part is present Piling.
In the last part of our presentation, let's take over the difference between the ancient Vietnamese kings and the ancient Egyptian kings in two aspects, their power and their tombs. The first aspect I want to mention is power. In Egypt, as a direct ruler, the Pharaoh was the preserver of the God-given order. He owned the late portion of Egypt land and directed its use, was responsible for his pupil economic and spiritual welfare. He spent justice to his subjects. His will was supreme and he governed by royal decree to govern fairly, though the Pharaoh had to delegate responsibility to his chief assistant, the vizier, who among other duties was justice, head of chastity, and overseer of all records. On the other hand, under Vietnamese feudal regimes, the king held both secular and theocratic powers. He was the sole one empowered to make laws, appoint, promote, hold the ownership rights to the public lands of the village throughout the country. The remaining aspect is kingdom. All tombs in Egypt had essential architectural components that reflected their religious function, a burial chamber, and a nearby mortuary chamber. The picture of the burial chamber is on the left side of our presentation. It was below ground and housed and protected the body and spirit. The mortuary chapel were above the ground and were accessible to visitors who could perform rites and make offering of food and drink for the dead person. Moreover, there is a wide variety of objects.
Excuse me, Thùy Linh. Yeah, so my phone has sent you the message that thumbs up. Okay. So Linh, are you the last speaker of your group?
Yes.
So can you quickly move to the other slide, just go through all the other slides one more time so people can have an idea of what you are going to talk about.
Yeah. On the contrary, tomb of Vietnamese king were designed distinctively. For instance, architecture of Khai Đic tomb has an influence of foreign architecture style, ranging from Hinduism, Roman, Gothic, and Khai Đic personality has left its imprint on the specific construction. This tomb was prepared carefully by Khai Đic in anticipation of his death. While the tomb has a different construction with a soft line of construction include mountain, forest, grass, and lake. Thank you for listening. My group sincerely appreciates the attention today.